Hey, True Believers, England teen here, and I get asked this question from time to time. I never actually understand it. At one point, somebody asked me to make a video on how to start collecting comics, which basically, right here, right above us, just start reading, dumbass. I don't understand what's the whole thing. I'm here with two very distracted guest stars. We've
I
got the
was
real
sharing
Dr.
a
Venkman.
stream. I'm sorry, I'm distracted.
Okay.
People need to
And
know that you
LK,
exist.
who's actually watching Top Gun. He has admitted to it. That's all he's doing right now. But I figure, okay, you know what? Let's finally answer this question. Let's talk about how really, if you just want to start collecting comics, just start reading, dumbass. That's all you need to do. Go to the comic shop. You find a comic you like, you pick it up, you start reading that comic. When you're done, get another.
If you want to
After a
get
while, you're going to have a comic book collection. That's the way we all did it. There was nobody holding our freaking hands going, hey, here's how you do it, little England teen. No, Plus, by the way, guys really shouldn't drag you under a bridge to explain comic book collecting because you might inspire something else, and there's a job there.
Well,
okay, so what were you going to say there?
I was just saying, like, collecting starting now is way different from when I started, even when you started. When I started, and I didn't start till like 2002, 2003, there were trades, but not as everybody is today. Now it's just like, now you have Omnibus now. So kids are, it's like, well, it's like, same with TV collecting, watching TV shows and stuff.
Well,
you have much more.
When we started, okay.
No, going. I'm saying because you watched the show when you watched it, you had to wait till it came out on VHS. If it even came out back on VHS, you read VCRs, you couldn't record it. So you had to be there, and yeah, I said the same with comic book floppies. You might be able to go back on floppies, but now they actually started putting stuff in the trades. It helps out a lot. And now, if you don't want to,
we're gonna go over this, Dalton. Okay.
All
right. So,
well, yeah, I was gonna quickly say. I mean, the easiest way to start collecting comics, today is you just watch Comic Tom, and you buy every single recommendation that he has.
We are going to get to that.
You'll be golden.
We're going to get to Comic Tom.
Look at Zach's comment right there. Exactly.
I didn't start collecting floppies until years after I started reading comics. I started off with trades and omnibuses. That's something that we didn't have as kids. I know LK's just a few years back from me. We didn't have trade paperbacks. I think it might have been like Secret Wars or something along those lines. Well, that's not true. Or Son of Origins, Women of Marvel. Those were some collected. And the first thing I read was a hardcover collection of Flash Comics #1 and assorted DC Comics comic origins.
Yeah.
So they were there, but they weren't as prolific as they would become. So ultimately, you would go into a comic book shop, you see Batman, or you see something colorful and bright and beautiful that looks good, which, by the way, we have to talk about modern day shelves. But it was exactly that. It was meant to attract younger people, even though the audience kept getting older and older. All the comic book covers were brightly colored and there to inspire a child to go, holy crap, that looks awesome. I need to pick it up. And so we did. You buy your first one or two. And at the time, granted, it was easier for us to go into a shop and pick up 5 or 6 of them than it is for you guys today. That is one thing we definitely had over you. What do you want to say there, LK?
Well, I was just going to say, you're talking about trades, and I'm sure there were earlier trades, but the first trades that I thinking about here that I remember buying of all things were Valiant trades. There was a trade, Black Richmond, a trade that came out for Harbinger, and then there was one later for Rye. Yeah, and I remember buying those kind of like for 2 reasons. 3 reasons. I wanted to read the stories. And, at that time they were just, I thought, they were grossly expensive because, the early Valiants were just hugely popular. I mean, now it's at the apex. And then they also came bagged with a Harbinger. Well, in this case, it was a Harbinger 0 and then a Rye 0. And so you had a collectability on top of the trade to go with it.
It's actually kind of hard to find a bagged trade paperback with a comic in it.
Yeah. So with that, and you brought up the thing too about just picking up 5 or 6. I mean, in this modern modern era with the prices, it's one of the things I've talked about, or I brought up from time to time in terms of I think why it's hard to build an audience is these things are priced now where you can't just pick it up on a whim.
Yeah,
when you go and look at like the inflation count, well, I should say the inflation calculator, say before this year, if comics had stayed the price they were when we were collecting in the mid '80s, they would be between $225 and $250. If a comic book was $225 or $250, and it had today, and it had, say, an interesting cover, or had an interesting tagline for a story, which again you also almost never see today, it would be worth taking a flyer to see. Okay, yeah, this book's good. If not, okay, $225, cost of a candy bar and a soda or whatever, no big deal.
Yeah.
Now
it's not a major purchase, which it is.
Now it's $4 or $5 a shot, and it's like I've seen things like going, do I really want to look at that?
You can't honestly say this. It is now back to being the same price as a gallon of gas. It hasn't been that way for 15 years, kids, but it's finally back to being the same price as a gallon of gas. Yeah, that's true. When I started collecting, not just buying, but actual collecting, it was 50 cents an issue. And that could be handled very well by, if you guys ever checked it out, please do. I got to remember cards and such. I did the comic book origins of Englentine. So by all means, check that video out. It's very self-serving and arrogant of me to do that. But along with all the superheroes, there's the comic book origins of Englentine, where I discussed the fact that back in my day, we could collect bottles and sell them to the store. So if it was 50 cents, that's 5 bottles. And we would take the radio flyers around, the little red wagons, and collect all sorts of bottles and such to pay for our candy and comic book habit. Nowadays, you're right, it is a little bit expensive, so you do have to be a little bit more discerning. Let's see, Tehillim is saying my comic collecting order was this. First TP I got was Batman 89 connected to the movie, which was a gift to me. I got a DC comic connected to the New Gods. Now, here's something also I want to talk about tonight is terminology. The Batman 89 comic book, even the thick one, that is a prestige format comic. A lot of people are calling trade paperbacks, and they're not. They're just not. If you go on eBay, you'll see this. Trade paperbacks, and it will be actual. This is a trade paperback, kids. It's a paperback that collects a previously published book. That's a trade paperback. A prestige format comic is just a square bound, thicker book, but not maybe on cardstock. Yeah, but we'll get to the glossary in just a little bit.
I was gonna say, I mean, that's for me that first one was Green Arrow Longbow Hunters. Is the kind of like the first graphic novel prestige format.
Yeah, but that's okay. We're going to go over that in just a little bit too. Like I said, we'll have to talk about that. Let's see. It was also via video games that also got me back into mainstream comics as Tehillim. And I got into comics through cartoons, says Tevia. Back in the 90s and such, you have the Paul Dini verse or whatever you call it these days. So what do you want to say there, Venk?
Well, I was going to say, your whole title about, you said you just start reading.
Just start reading, dumbass. Yeah.
Well, the problem is, I can understand why a lot of people have problems not knowing where to start, because everyone says, oh, this is the best Batman story. No, you got to read this first. So it becomes overwhelming because there's so much material to read, too.
And that's why I'm going to keep pointing to this.
Well, tell me, where do I start and how do I get a hold of that?
Start with what you find appealing on the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking
I can't tell you what you're gonna like. So you go to the shelf and you pick one up and just pick it up and start reading it.
Problem is,
you'll find out yourself if A, you're interested in it, B, if you want to continue reading it, or C, if you should pick up something else. So then pick up something else.
Problem is, if you pick up something that's that's a part 2, you don't realize it, and you're like, oh, this is the middle part trade of a whole ongoing series. You're in So you missed the first arc, you got to go back and buy that one.
Yeah, and that happened to anybody who started picking up books. You know, the first Teen Titans I picked up that I remember really reading was number 22, which was the second part of a Brother Blood storyline. I didn't read the first part until years after, but I continued from there. This whole thing about needing your handheld just to go to the freaking comic shop and buy something off the shelf.
No one needs their handheld.
That's
kind of offensive terminology right there.
What are you going to say there? So is just start reading, dumbass. I'm not. The whole thing is I'm kind of pointing out the stupidity of the just even the question. Just go up and do it. Just freaking just do it. Yeah.
Well, it's like I said, like I just started reading my own stuff because I people tell me, oh, new comic books suck. So I started reading the back stuff, and I realized those sucks, and I started going back to the new stuff. You know, it's got to the point where I just don't ask anymore because you get so many different people, especially when I was younger. People said, oh, this is the best Batman story. I'm like, I read them like, well, this is crap compared to the animated series. Why would I read this stuff?
Well,
you know,
look, a lot of channels, of course, are built for entertainment over anything else. Imagine a movie channel, and it's got LK and I, and we're always reviewing the same movie. LK hates everything. I like everything. So how are you going to know? So, yeah. You're right. Some of the things I do actually not like so much, but you hate everything.
Yeah,
like I said, I don't. A lot of us, you know, also when you're first starting, especially if you're younger. And I was just getting out of high school. I didn't have a job yet, so I had a limited budget. So I was always trying to find the cheapest, you know, I could. Mm-hmm. And you know, unfortunately, a lot of people are now don't want to spend the price because the price of trades, and also not every trades are available. And if they are, it's out of print, so it's doubled in price. So I can see a lot of people are going to pirating now because they don't want to deal with this.
Here's exactly what you said. I can't go up to the shelf because I have no idea what to pick up. I can't watch YouTubers because some people say it's good, some people it's bad. I read back issues and they sucked. I read new issues and they sucked. So your whole thing is don't start at all.
Yeah. Well, here I was gonna
go on ahead. Okay.
Well, I was gonna play comment on something you talked about in terms of find something interesting and pick it up.
Yes.
Here's one of the big problems today is so many of the covers are not being done to do things that would entice new readers. It's to get the member berries of existing people or, oh, I like this artist. So, and like, I just picked 2 books I have laying around at random. So,
okay, let me share you out here.
Yeah. So, I mean, you tell me which book would entice a brand new reader who knows nothing. So, here's Hell Sonia number 2. Yeah, it's a nice cover, but it's basically a pinup.
Okay.
And then here's X-Men 313. You've got action on there. You've got a little tagline, that says, can you read it? Trans something terror. So as a brand new reader, if you saw these 2 sitting on the shelf, which one are you going to go, oh, wow, this looks kind of interesting. Maybe I'll pick it up.
Oh, I agree with you. Covers have gotten lazy.
I would go with Uncanny because Uncanny is within the hundreds over there, and that one, Hell Sonia, just sells like issue 2. So you're so confused because there's Immortal Red Sonja, there's Red Sonja, there's Red Sitha. It's like, where do I start with those?
Yeah, but again, this is also where, and we talked too about, you were talking about, like, oh yeah, no, Batman. Oh yeah, get this story. No, get this story. And that's part of, also something else, that has come up and talked about in terms of, trade dress and consistency of trying to find the volumes. And again, I don't know if you necessarily want to bring this up, but I mean, again, this is part of why manga has been so attractive in being able to get new readers. I mean, because, you pick up this little digest, and more importantly, on the back is a summary where it's like, okay, oh, you know what? This sounds interesting. Oh, this is only $10 and I'm getting this much. Okay. Yeah, this is worth a flyer to see if I like it. It's much easier to just pick this up versus one of these.
Because it doesn't really tell you what's inside the book anymore. But I'm saying if you like that cover, you pick it up, you start reading it. If you like the book, read the next, read the following, and continue. If you find out you're at issue number 2, which you should, because as we all know, right up in the corners there, we have the numbers. Go find number 1. And over time, you will build a collection. So that's, in all honesty, what you got here is, I'm the meat and potato argument. Just go and do it. That's the way we did it. I didn't start. My first comic book ever bought wasn't Amazing Spider-Man #1. You know, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I want to read Amazing Spider-Man, but I'm at 160. So I better go back and read the first one. No, I picked up issue number 160 and continued from there, whether or not New Teen Titans number 22, and continued from there. If I liked the title enough, then I would go get the back issues, or I would get the trades or something like that.
Yeah.
Just pick up the comic and read it. And that's the meat and potatoes, the argument. However, you guys have pointed out, and I know I've been kind of snarky in the arguments, but in all honesty, you have pointed out some very good roadblocks to getting people even into and interested. But I'm talking about somebody who is interested. They want to read comics. Just go into that shop and buy. Now, that doesn't mean you have to buy off the new shelf. If you like X-Men, as LK just pointed out, there's a whole shit ton of X-Men. Go to the back issue bin. A lot of times you could find back issues at the same price as a new book. As a matter of fact, I know an auction every Saturday night on this channel that you could get a lot of back issues for even less than cover price of a comic. So you just find a place where you could get them and you just buy them. So that's basically the meat and potatoes. But you're right. These days, new books are kind of they're kind of harder to get into than back in our day.
Like I said, when I started into this stuff, there was still some trades, but not every single trade for every single thing. I started off with the 90s cartoons. That was my thing. So Spider-Man, I love the cartoon. So now I'm like, I looked at, oh, where's the #1? Oh, that's right. I don't have any look of finding that ever until like I'm 80 years old and have enough money saved up to buy that book. You know, the prices is discouraging for those who want to collect, the books, and if you can find a trade, go ahead and find the trade. But now I look for Amazing Spider-Man trades. They're not on the shelves. You got to go look on discount, trades, online.
Yeah.
Because they're not there. I happen to luck up because this is before pirating. I had for $40 the complete collection, and it gives you every single one from plus across from stores on Adobe Reader.
Yeah.
So I was able to read that and catch up. Versus down.
And that now you can find digital copies, of course, in some place. I would not recommend. I don't know where to go right now for comics. I would not recommend going to Comixology anymore. I used to swear by it, but they changed their reading format to the point where it's difficult.
I looked at the DC. I'm reading I'm reading the post DC Christ, Superman stuff.
Yeah.
I looked at the DC Universe app. They don't even have all the books that I'm trying to, because they crossed over. There's missing numbers. So it's like, okay, I'm paying like $70 or whatever for that, and I just wanted to read that. I was like, it doesn't even help me. It's like the point where I'm like, all right, I'm going to see if they have it in trade. Oh, look, they have the first part in trade format, but they don't have the second part of the series.
Unfortunately, DC Comics universe seems to be very happy that they're putting out the new books, and I'm thinking, please, one, make your search engine a little better, and please, can you put in more back issues? Marvel, the same thing, but I would like to, because we started talking about it, I would like to go over go ahead. I'm trying to move on, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, just one other thing too, to be positive on this. I mean, one other thing is if you've got a comic shop, in your area, go there and talk to the owner, talk to the person behind the counter. Most of these places are going to be overjoyed, to talk comics, and you say, hey,
absolutely,
I want to start reading. What are some of the good things? And again, the good shop owner, the good shop employee, manager, what you will, we'll ask you, okay, well, what kind of things do you like, and then give you recommendations off of that.
And there's a lot of good. Look, we don't like the new issues so much as we do the back issues. We've made that very plain on the channel. I just think the storytelling is a lot more fun and it's less self-serious, but there is something out there. If you are interested in collecting comics, there is something out there to get, whether it's new, whether it's old. Don't be afraid of that middle section. For our comic book shop, you have You have the Marvel, then the independent, and then the DC. Don't skip over that independent section because you can find some great stories in that.
Yeah.
The best comics to me these days are the independent comics.
So
But,
I just want to say I can see why, because you can't find every single issue, especially when you're trying to look for certain things. It's hard to find them for certain issues because there might be a first appearance, might be somebody who is just like an old, just for whatever reason that book went up because somebody speculated online saying it's going to be in a movie.
And we'll talk. The last thing we're talking about tonight is speculation.
Well, I'm just going to say real quickly is I can see why some of these younger kids get frustrated and just go read pirate because you have everything there all the way through. You don't have to spend time looking going to different shops.
So advocating piracy.
I'm not advocating. I'm just saying I can understand why some of these people get frustrated. And
okay,
they don't want
to move on.
When you said the middle section of the store, I thought you were going to go, here's the new issues, here's the back issues, and here's the adult section.
Right. Yeah. The comics you have to get when you walk through the swinging
I got new
doors.
issues and then back issues and then back
issues. It was a curtain. It was a curtain for me.
Okay, so hello to Aqualad who just jumped in saying I started reading comics in my early 20s. I started by reading Wikipedia pages of characters I already knew about.
Tells you everything.
Yeah.
Not comicology, but I wasn't comic buying. That's what it is. Yeah,
Windsor's asking, might they be censoring certain issues or might they be omitting certain issues as a form of censorship?
I wonder because,
I can't imagine because
maybe.
Like I was searching for first appearance of Matter Eater Lad and they didn't have that.
Or Spectacular.
About a year or two before I actually bought my first comic, I was reading the Wikipedia and the comic previews, says Aqualad. Yeah, so going over some of these terms, I found this thing. It's called the glossary of what is this? The glossary of comic book terms, which I'm thinking that might actually make a decent video. Let me share this out and we'll go over this, see if we agree or disagree. I am very old school in all of this, so if it's basically what I don't already understand, I'm probably going to be that old man. Why that don't make sense?
One's like the last spec issue I bought was a couple different what ifs.
Here we go. Artist, writer, penciler, inker. These are the people who work on it, and this just tells you what to do. I'm looking for this kind of thing. Comic book format. You have the single issue. Obviously, that's this. The Prestige Edition, that was what I was talking about, the Batman thing. I was trying to find one. Like, actually, I do have one. This would be considered a Prestige comic. Common America by Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini.
Yeah.
This is the very first one. This would be considered because it's thick. It's almost like a trade paperback, but it's not. So that would be considered a Prestige. Digital comics. Editions of comics that can be viewed on the computer screen. Digital first is when they're released on any of the digital comic sites, or most of your pirated comics will be in digital comics. I'm sure Venkman would tell you that. And then the collected edition, this is where multiple single issues are collected into a. Okay, and here we go. Trade paperback, the most common kind of collected comics, where it usually is 5 to 8 single issues. It could be any. It could be 2. It could be, usually it's more than one. It's got to be more than one though. Digest. These are collected editions that are smaller. You'll find those on the grocery store shelves mostly. Hardcovers. It's the same thing. It's just it could be a graphic novel, or it's a trade. Hardcovers are usually talking about a trade paperback in hardcover. Even a hardcover graphic novel would be referred to as a hardcover graphic novel. An omnibus is just a hardcover trade that's about yay big that collects a unusual number of comics. And I'll just pull this one off the shelf here as a visual aid. Unfortunately, yeah, there you go.
Green screen.
A lot of green in that one.
Yeah, my green screen is playing all sorts of higgledy with it. So there you go.
Yeah, we don't use the fake green screens where I am. We use the actual comic stuff.
Yeah, but that's okay. Alrighty, let me get this back to where we were here. Nope, that's me again.
Fake as Hollywood, man.
There we go. Alrighty. I'm as fake as Hollywood. And original graphic novel. I don't have one around here, I don't think. But
I don't have original, but I do have. I don't know if these considered.
yeah, those are just, of course, hardcovers that are or otherwise that are. No, that's a trade.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was thinking. Despite this record trade.
Here we go. One of my all-time favorite original graphic novels. So this is Orbiter by Warren Ellis and
Now we're canceled. Warren Ellis. Jeez,
Yeah.
thanks.
This is fantastic. If you love space and you love the space program, get this book.
DC Archive editions, if you can find them, they're great. Same with the Golden Age USA ones. Not usually with the Marvel Golden Age.
I gotta say, I like this variant cover. A variant cover is an alternative cover of a single issue. Most of the time, it includes the art of a different artist and are often fewer and available. Not anymore, guys. Incentive covers are bullshit. It's a bullshit predator practice that Marvel and DC use against comic book shops. And that's where they'll say, if you buy 500 comics of this title that doesn't sell, we'll give you one variant cover of a title that we hope will.
There are sometimes the variant covers are actually worth it. Like I said, I will get the Sienkiewicz variant covers for Moon Knight.
Oh, shoot. I bit off more than I could chew. We're not going all through this. That ain't going to happen, yo.
A run is when you have the runs while reading
it. Go through quickly.
Say again?
I said we can go through it quickly and just touch on any that.
Yeah, there you go. Limited series. Obviously, it's a series with a planned shortened ending. A maxi series is a mini series, generally 12 issues or longer. But once again, a planned ending. So at the beginning, they'll say this is going to be a 25 issue maxi series. Okay,
that's a max series. I thought it was a mini series.
But a lot of times nowadays, they'll be like, "Holy crap! Where's this? Start this series. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love this." But then they find out nobody's interested and they stop it at 6 issues and go, "Well, it's always intended to be a mini series." No, it wasn't. Shut up. An annual is an oversized special comic book that is released in addition to the regular comic series. I always thought it would be cool if there was like one story that was built up throughout the year and finished in the annuals. I always thought that's the way they should be handled, at least for a couple of years. A one-shot is a self-contained single-issue story, usually not connected to a series. Webcomic comics are made for viewing on the internet. This could be in comic strip form or as an ongoing narrative. Mini comic that's smaller than a conventional comic book size. A zine is a self-published and handmade comic or magazine.
Yeah. Now, see, like I've never heard the term mini comic. That to me sounds more like an ash can. Yeah, that's what we knew it as. Yeah. Okay, and here's these are way out of date. Now people are always 9.6, 8.5. But this is the way I grew up knowing. Mint condition. This comic's perfect in every way and has no damage. That's why you always called everything near mint. Near mint would be 9.8 because you can't get a 10.0 or 10.0s is very rare. Now you get 9.8.
I get rid of fine. I just go very fine and then very good.
I mean, I think on the 0 to 10 scale now, I think it's technically 9.4 is considered near mint. I wish Almighty Jack was here.
I know he'd probably know better.
Ash cans aren't real, but yet ash cans
very fine. It is close to mint, but will have very minor damages or blemishes. Those are, if I were to see very fine, or I'm talking about very fine on the auction, I would probably put that between 8 and 9.4, depending. Like you said, fine has some wear, but that is more noticeable than a very fine copy. This is, in my opinion, this was one that you could tell's been opened and moved around, but it doesn't look like it's got a whole shit ton of cover ticks or something. Let's see, very good. A used comic book which has noticeable wear that actually comes in like it almost feels like it's softer than normal. Good has a lot of wear, but still okay for reading. Fair has a lot of wear, more than a good copy. That doesn't help at all. And then a very damaged copy is poor. That just covers all.
Poor means the book's on fire.
Yeah.
Well, or just, I mean, the front cover's been ripped off, that kind of thing. So I was just pulling up on like CBR. So, if you're going by the 0 to 10, poor is a 0.5, fair is basically 1 to 2, good is like 2 to 2.5, 3, very good is 3.5 to 4.5, fine is 5.5, 6.5, very fine 7.5, 8.5, and then when you get to 9, that's when you start getting into your mint.
There you go.
Like this would be very fine. I have my book here, but it has a little chip missing out of the tear in the page.
Yeah, and then mint starts at 9.8.
No.
So you've got mint minus at 9.8, mint at 9.9, and gem mint at 10 is
Okay.
how CDR.
And then we have
Super chat.
I just
10
saw
bucks.
that. Hey, Glenzer, thanks for the super chat. And he's saying, I pre-order omnibuses at cheap graphic novels for $74.99. Amazon charges $118.50 for the same titles while claiming a pre-order price guarantee. To quote Smokey Robinson, you better shop around. Damn straight. Well, I've been trying to get a hold of the Joker. I want to get the Joker omnibus.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll go one further. What I've been putting in my monthly DCBS orders too. If you are looking at a previous guide or whatever, and you see something you want, go there and pre-order it because most things are between 30 and 40% off. Case in point, I had just ordered. So actually, Abrams Comic Arts is doing the Alex Ross Fantastic Four hardcover slipcase. And and they had that for 30% off. So instead of $40 cover price, I'm getting it for $28.
Nice. Oh, and thank you again, Glenzer, for the $10 super chat.
Like I said, I started using discount trades, or in stock trades. Sorry, in stock trades is what I use because
that's part of DCB. That's the other.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next term key issue. That is a comic book where something special happens, like the very first appearance of Daredevil's red suit over the yellow and red one.
It's black.
Yeah. Well, it's also on green screen. It shouldn't be. Yes, that terrible green screen. Panel is what the separates the separate boxes in a comic book page. Splash page is one whole comic book page. I don't think you can find those in modern day comics too much.
2-page spreads, those are awesome.
2-page spread is anything in an image comic book. Manga, Japanese comics. These comics are read left to right. The 2-page spread is you are showing off there.
The only problem is sometimes it's so far in there, the art, so it's fine, so you can't see the full picture. You got that.
Mm-hmm. Japanese comics, manga, are what is destroying modern day comics in America. Let's see, we got manhwa, comics that originate from Korea, but just don't garner the same respect.
I agree,
Anthology, these are comics that contain multiple short stories from multiple creators. Usually they are subpar comics because you might even have a great story, but somewhere in there's a story by Vita Ayala and Riley Rosmos that's going to suck your soul dry. 0 issues, usually an issue set before issue number 1 that acts as a prelude to the main series, messing up all sorts of continuity, and I don't know. That's just my take. Creator owned. That means they're not belonging to the big two, and they have they have say over what happens with them.
Indiegogo Kickstarter. That's creator owned.
Solicitations, a block of text generally accompanied with cover image with details of the upcoming book releases that have been supplied by the publisher. And let's see, independence, not with DC or Marvel. That's all it means. Continuity is where a book's narrative. Say again?
I said we can skip over continuity because DC and Marvel has skipped over continuity.
Right. Continuity should be important, but it really isn't to DC and Marvel these days. Now that they've opened up the multiverses again, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
Everything's a retcon these days.
But yeah, it's just a continuing story, and it should be like that. And the way it used to be handled, granted, you would have stuff come and go. People would, even with the bad stories, they would just forget it and kind of move on. But if somebody could figure out a good idea for that bad story, it would be picked up again. A retcon is basically the new 52 or all new, all now Marvel and everything. It's when they, where'd I go? Short for retroactive continuity. This is when past events and shared universes or characters and are changed retroactively. This can be done to add new elements to an existing story that allows for future stories. It could also be used to update a character. Originally, Tony Stark was wounded in Vietnam, but Marvel shows that now it was Afghanistan. That to me is a minor kind of necessary continuity, and yet still Magneto is a child of the Holocaust. So he's like 90 years old, kids. Let's see. Crossover is when two elements of two or more comic books come together to create one storyline. An event is what will ruin comic books forever and ever until they learn or we learn to stop buying them. It's a crossover story on generally a larger scale than normal. Often these events include many more comic book characters from a shared universe coming together. Also, the outcome of the storyline often affects ongoing titles for a month, not months. For a month, because remember, they got to get to the next event in about 5 days. Sometimes Marvel will have 4 or 5 events going on at the same time, and nobody's going to really be paying attention to any of them. Pre-crisis, post-crisis. Crisis on Infinite Earths, one of the greatest stories of all time. DC Comics was a mess. They made Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was not a mess. And then Jeff Johns came in and said, hey, it's a mess. Let's make Infinite Crisis, and became a mess. New 52 is the era of DC beginning to suck. Rebirth is DC Comics coming back and not sucking anymore. I think I'm throwing in my own editorial here, but I'm not hearing a lot of arguments. So what do we get here? We got RDV. There was a time before every storyline was renumbered. When I started collecting, you started. Yeah, that was good. Nowadays, it is hard to tell. It is hard to tell. Let's see. Opinionated Junkie, thank you very much. I can't read old comics. Tried, couldn't do it. Sorry, man. Those are the better ones. But thank you very much for the $2 super chat. Yeah. This is something, because I know some people just can't get into Golden Age, or they can't get into Silver Age because the stories are incredibly simple.
I wanted to actually ask Opinionated Junkie. I mean, if you're still there, so I guess what did you try to read, and what was it that you didn't like, or kept you from reading it? I'm honestly curious.
It's probably the same as me. I can't get into early Fantastic Four. It's too hokey for me. I prefer Spider-Man. Even though it sounds weird, but I prefer single characters. That's when it's a supporting cast versus just a family of 4 people. I'm not a group person.
Okay, so the format. So you're talking about with the panel layout, or
it's just I prefer focusing on one character as the main person.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, Justice said it's the format.
Justice League is all over the place.
They would send out the team in twos rather than work together as a team. It would be like Martian Manhunter and Wonder Woman go off and solve this problem, and then Batman and Superman go off and solve that problem. I get it. Because
you're getting from Peter Parker's point of view, versus like there is no single point of view. It's everybody's point of view mashes one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me see if I can't finish this up pretty quickly. Backup feature. This is a story in the back of another comic book. Batman titles were really good. The detective comics were really good for these back in the day. The big 2, Marvel and DC. LCS, local comic book shop, LCS. Run. This is a number of consecutively published comics of a series by a writer and or artist. For instance, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, they had a run on Fantastic Four that lasted 100 issues. Off panel is something that happened between comics that they don't show on them, or between comic panels. Onomatopoeia, bam, pal, crash, snicked. There you go. Comicsology, skip it. It sucks. It freaking sucks. It's a popular online digital comic place, but their reading thing, you used to be able to bring the image forward. You used to be able to go panel to panel, so it let the story flow freely. Now it's about it when it used to be this big. Now the image is this big. It's just bad. Story. We got.
I was just gonna go quickly. He's Brain Junkie said he doesn't like the narration boxes. There's a lot of format to read. They are wordies, as heck. Some of them are.
Yes.
Well, I was going to say maybe don't start with Chris Claremont then.
Story arc and extended or
lighter.
Story arc and extended or we only got 2 more to go, and I'll shut this down. Story arc is an extended or continuing storyline that spreads over multiple issues or smaller stories of a comic book. And then we have Diamond, which really this is out of date. So let me shut that down. And here we are. Okay.
I can agree with that, though. Was it Pinay Junkie was saying? Yeah. Some of that, it takes forever just to read a single issue because if you're getting 2 issues. No, it's great if you enjoy the content, but if you're a person that's not already enjoying it, and then you're like, all right, I got to read this because it's part of the storyline. This is like, especially if crossover stuff.
I've said it. I've said it for the last 5 years. Modern day comics. Hello. Next page. How are you? Next page. Doing. In a big old splash page of a person holding a coffee cup. Yeah. It's the modern day comics. I understand they're kind of locked in to writing for the format, but they learned how to be lazy for writing for the trades instead of writing a good floppy. They didn't learn how to do it dynamically and how to do it excitedly. They learned how to be lazy about it. You could blame Bruce Jones if you want for his Incredible Hulk, where you only got to see the Hulk maybe in a panel at the end of a trade.
We want less words because otherwise, more words just make it just no pictures, just words.
Well, I mean, to go with that, so what happens a lot with the modern comics now is you're just skimming over it because there's not much to read. You're just looking at the picture and boom, next page. They're
emptier. You know what? This is a whole other how empty and sad modern comics is a whole other stream right there.
Unless you enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, and you're done in 10 minutes. That's what it is. Whereas you pick up a Chris Claremont X-Men issue, especially in the Golden Age. It's taking you a half hour or more to read it. It just is.
Yeah,
you're getting money offers on your OnlyFans. I think it's time for you to take off your shirt and dance there. Okay.
Not on this channel.
Not on this channel. No. But yeah, look, it's like I said, and I am being flippant by saying just start reading, dumbass. But you just pick up a book and start reading. That's it. Hopefully you like it. Yeah, but you did the same thing.
I'm picking. No, it isn't. I started reading comic books. I started with number 1 of Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay, but you found a number 1. Point being is somebody could find a number 1 or a number 2 or a number 3. Just start reading if they like it.
That because I was able to get a CD-ROM version of it. Otherwise, I probably would have gone and started reading it.
But it doesn't matter.
It does when there's a giant story arc.
Are you telling me that people should never pick up a Batman because it's at 125?
If it's in the middle of a ongoing story,
no. 125, 126. You got to name it. You didn't get an Amazing Spider-Man number 1 or Amazing Fantasy 15.
When I started, I read it at the CD-ROM. I started at 1, worked my way up through 600. Then I started collecting.
Every book you got was first issue.
When I go to start to read it,
When you started to read, you will not pick up a comic book
not
series
in the middle of it.
If you're, you know what I feel I want to bring up. I want to read some Black Panther. You will wait until Ta-Nehisi. You wouldn't pick up like
I don't like Black Panther at all.
because that's what you're missing. Don't focus on the wrong part of the story. Okay, you're coming over here. You should be going through the entire thing.
You see where I'm coming from now? Jeez.
Yeah. Just pick up a freaking comic and read it. According to Venkman, don't freaking read comics at all.
No, according to me, do what you want to do. Don't listen to what I. Yeah. That's what I personally
do. I'm about to have a freaking brain aneurysm. I don't know
what you're freaking
saying. I swear to gosh, you're being a freaking today.
Again, using your example, and again, we've seen this, you go watch Black Panther. You had a great time in the movie. You're like, oh, okay, this is actually based on a comic. Let me go check it out. your, east side would be is, you pick up whatever the latest issue is and read it, and if it intrigues you, and that was kind of the way, and that was the way we grew up. It was you read the issue, whether it was the beginning of an arc, the middle of the arc, or whatever. But there was usually something there that was gonna hold you and entertain you, and you go, "Oh wow, this is really cool! I can't wait to see what happens next." As well as, well, I'm curious what happened before, maybe, and that's then where you would learn about back issues. Or it was like, it's not as good as I thought it was, and toss it away, and you're out 75 cents, you're out $1.
Now you're out $6.
Yeah, today now it could be $5 or $6.
Okay, here's the thing: if you can't stomach spending $4 or $5, $6 on a comic, don't start. Don't fucking start. Okay, that's what they're telling you. All right. Do you know what? Unfortunately, I swear to gosh, maybe I should have done this one by myself, because you guys are arguing stuff that we're not talking about. We're not talking about the quality as much. I know we've gotten into it a little bit. Yes, in my opinion, older is better than newer. But point being is, if you want to freaking really start to collect, you just go pick up an issue and you buy it. If you like it and you find out, holy shit, it's issue number 2, your brain isn't going to explode in the way that Venkman is trying to tell you it is. You just go look for that first issue.
I'm not saying that.
Or and if you do like it, you continue. If you don't, you don't buy another one. Simple as that. Holy freaking crap. It's not that hard. I will say this, but if you're hearing that you can make $1 bajillion off of comic book collecting, ultimately I say you're going to lose. Go on ahead, LK. Looked like you wanted to say something.
No, well, I was just going to say, the house always wins.
The house usually does. Look, we got what we call the speculators, and that's a whole different kettle of fish. They don't care so much about what's on the inside of the book, other than what the book might signify. Is it a first appearance? Is it a special story that something happened in? But they don't play the game properly. That's a whole other thing. But here's something just to point out. We're going to have a little fun with it. There is if you are into that kind of thing, then I would recommend you go to certain places. Certain Key Collectors is a website you can go to. The one thing I used to share out is this comicbookinvestment.com. Now, frankly, they go off on the movies, and I think that's bullshit. It really is, because there is no long-term when it comes to the movies. Oh my gosh, this character might be in the movie. Dazzler in the X-Men caused that book to see some interest, because a toy showed up in action figures for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Darkhawk #1 shot to $30, sometimes $50 at a certain point, and then, of course, it wasn't in the movie, and it came back down to 10 to 15. It's ridiculous, but that's what they do. I figured, what the hell? I'll go over their top 10 for now. Be very careful with that, but I do recommend, if you're going to go through and say, hey, all I want to do is buy these issues, here you go. Let's see. The honorable mentions for their top 10 are Catwoman #43, Rosebush Virgin. By the way, they are huge into variant covers on this channel. Writer Teeny Howard, $200. This is not a knock on Rose. I'm sure she's super nice, but this cover, that's a fucking horrible cover. So,
yeah, and it's strictly because I think Catwoman 43 introduced a new character or whatever. So basically what they're saying is, yeah, this cover's garbage, but because it's a
no, it's literally because it's the Virgin Foil variant.
Right, yeah, so it's a limited edition variant of potentially a key issue. Pick it up.
Crime Reporter #2 is here. 2 copies sold this week for 4.5 for $1,500 and a 5.5 for $24. Triple what it sold for in 2020. Saudi Lingerie. Matt Baker checks a lot of boxes for a pre-code. Anything you can find pre-code.
Okay, Seduction of the Innocent. That's what they're doing. Yeah.
Okay, so they're #10, Amazing Fantasy #15. No shit. If there's ever been a no shit book, if you can find an Amazing Fantasy #15, if you can find just the cover to Amazing Fantasy 15, pick that shit up. Why is this on it? It's clearly not a variant. And number 10, I will occasionally highlight a monster. This book is the King of the Silver Age and will likely always be a grail. Yeah, it's ridiculous to put it on a top 10 thing. It's always. That being said, have you seen some of the recent sales? 72,000 for a 4.5, 84,000 for a 5.0, 117,000 for 5.5. These are insane increases while the rest of us are cringing while filling up our gas tanks. I guess the rich are getting richer, or at least I don't think so. They just paid $30,000 or $72,000.
Yeah,
they paid a lot of money.
Yeah, all they're talking about there is just the fact that the Amazing Fantasy 15 has doubled or tripled in price in 2 years.
We Live #1 is number 9, slightly up in price from about $30 to $40. I'm assuming that someone either mentioned that this was picked up for a show or a movie, but I can find no article. When news is scarce, it's easier to believe and buy into rumors. Also, it's a very good miniseries, and that might actually be it. Number 8 is Disturbed Dark Messiah #1, the Todd McFarlane 1 in 10 variant. They're big on variants, like I said. Then it's Thor God of Thunder #5. It was 20 to 30. Now it's 40 to 50, with his first appearance actually going down in value. It's surprising that Gore's origin issue is going up. Not that I'm complaining, because I think the origin issue should be the second most important issue for a character. Okay. Let's see. Number 6, Crisis on Infinite Earths. Not a crisis, but Infinite Crisis #5. The first appearance of the Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle. 9.8s had fallen into the low 200s. It's way too freaking much. They're rebounding this week to 300 plus after set photos showed a comic book faithful costume. That is way, way too freaking much for a first appearance of Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle. Something is Killing the Children #21. Somehow, some way, these variants keep doing well week after week. This one appears to be fairly low supply at the moment. Let's see. Speed Racer #1 by Lynn Straczewski was $10, is now $30 after it was announced that Bad Robot was heading up a show on Apple TV. I like Bad Robot aspect, but I'm not all that enthused about a live action version of this. Plus, wasn't he in a movie a long time ago? Even if you're doing that, you still freaking failed. What the hell? Department of Truth #18, the Todd McFarlane variant. Let's see. Then number 2, the Todd McFarlane 1 in 100, and then Catwoman 1 in 25 variant. There you go. Like I said, follow those if you want. If you're a speculator, good luck to you. I don't have much to say, except for come on over when I'm doing the big dogs onto my on my auction on Saturday, and you guys.
If you want for like a third of the price they're probably going for now, first prints. No, you can get these comic books for a third of price of most of these stuff.
Yeah. Well, I was just about to say, I actually just had to look, and I have that cover of the Infinite Crisis #5, and it's probably only been read once. Otherwise, it's been sitting in a bag, hopefully, for 20 years.
I sold it to somebody with, I think that wasn't one of the ones with George Perez's signature.
Yeah. So if somebody would like to make me an offer,
I'll give you a stick of gum and his Cracker Jacks.
Let's see. Imagine instead of a variant covers, there were variant artists for a whole issue. Oh my goodness gracious, we kind of need that, don't we?
I'll trade you my gold case Legend of Zelda.
Let's see. You can find Amazing Fantasy 15 in at least 3 places: Masterworks, Origins of Marvel Comics, and reprints. Yep. That's where I'll be buying it. I've held a couple. I actually like to pick up comics and get a picture in the whole 9 yards.
I Googled you.
When I go to
Comic-Cons?
comic conventions, if they're booths like that and you can go back and look at them, I like to pick up a really rare something I haven't seen and get a picture with it. I actually have a picture of me holding a showcase #4, and that's something. That's the only one I had ever seen.
This Saturday,
as a matter of fact, that's still the only one I've ever seen.
It's like
I would be like that guy in Ocean's 11 where he's trying to get out of the casino with a freaking comic book.
More like Peter Griffin, you trip, break your leg, and you tased.
Yeah, think about this. That would be grand theft. If you stole showcase number 4, that would be grand freaking theft.
I would just be amazed if you actually were able to get away with it.
Yeah, Glenzer, what are Matt? Okay, seeing a low issue number of an established character is like walking into a restaurant that's empty at 7 p.m. on a Saturday night. It's very rare. So yeah, if I can, I try to take a picture with. I know it's lame. I know I'm coming off like a big geek.
Taking pictures of celebrities.
It is.
In a sense, it's like
I know,
you're not
right?
taking home, but you say I was there. I got that.
I am a person that it would be really cool to start a comic book museum. I'm a person that would go there just to look at it. Oh my gosh, that's a real Action Comics number 1. Yeah.
Well, there are a couple of those around. Actually, I'm going to try and make my way down there sometime either this month or in July, but there is the Comic Art Museum here in San Francisco.
They allow you to take pictures?
We'll see. I don't know.
Or video. Get you some of those glasses.
If you have a comic book store and you want to display these old books, put on facsimiles. No one's going to know the difference, depending on how old it is, and then keep the other ones in the vault, because I wouldn't want to keep them overnight in my store, but afraid because a lot of these things you can't replace.
Mm-hmm.
So old they are. The more the rarer they are. No, that's you keep them at home. You have your gun with you. One jump comes in the house.
It's the what is it? There's, I think the most rare comic, or one of the most rare comics. I'm trying to think. It's one of the original Timely books, like Red Angel or Flying Angel. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that Superman annual where they, where Kal-El crawled into a microwave that got pulled.
Oh no, that's been around. But there's what is that? It's like the Red Angel or something. It's a Marvel Timely title. It's a Timely title. Let me see if I can't find it.
If you're a comic collector and you're having a rummage sale, make sure that your books are nowhere near where your wife or loved ones can sell them for 15 cents.
That is true. Yes.
It says 15 cents on it, so I sold it for $1. It's like amazing 15.
Red Raven. I think it might be it. Red Raven.
African American.
Yes. Yeah. Red Raven Comics. That's I believe that's like that is one of the most rare Marvel comics at the very least.
Negro Comics would be extremely rare, says Mariah.
Yeah, All Negro Comics is rare. Man, I saw one guy who was showing off all of his books. His friend was doing the content, he's filming, and he goes, "Wow, you got some great comics. What's the most rare comic you have?" And he had 2. And he holds it up, and the guy goes, "Oh, you have any Batman or Superman?" I'm sitting there losing my freaking mind. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, somebody actually owns one of those. I would love it. Red Raven, yeah, one slick dude found out. But yes, I would love. That is a garage sale find right there. Red Raven or the All Negro Comics. Yeah. I would actually go and get that slabbed just for protection, though. I mean, I don't give a fuck about selling or anything, but for the protection of it, that would be amazing. Well, anyway, there you go, guys. That's us bitching and moaning and telling you how to collect comics and everything. But I'm going to stick to my original premise. Just start reading. You're going to like some of the things. You're going to dislike some of the things. Ask around. What are people reading? If you're worried, like it's been brought up by RDV and Venkman, that modern day comics, maybe they're not going to be your cup of tea. Maybe they will. Maybe like, oh my goodness gracious.
I remember.
Who was it? That was saying that I got to look it up again. If you're like.
Opinionated Junkie?
Yes, thank you. Opinionated Junkie, who was saying they don't like older comics. Maybe the newer stuff is for you. But the best way to start is to just start.
I agree.
And the best way to start is to come by on Saturday night.
9 p.m. Eastern.
9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Spend a couple bucks and pick up a couple books that sound interesting, because usually the folks on here are can at least tell you what it's about and pick one up, try it, and if you like it, great. If not, you're out $1 or $2.
That's it. And for the price of one comic, you can get 5 here for most of the time. It's a really good way to fill out your collection, or if you're looking to try something new, it's a cheap way to pick up a whole bunch of comics.
Or if you just want to have a nice looking trade, instead of getting the floppies, we have the trades.
There you go. That too. All right, guys. But thanks for hanging out with us. Moran, you put the Ko-Fi in if you want to help us out financially or really could use it. Go on over to Ko-Fi, drop $1 in the till. Thank everybody who's already done that. To everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching. You guys have a great night.